Most men think attraction begins when a woman notices how they look. The truth is far deeper. Imagine a woman who has spent years being misunderstood. Something shifts. She feels safe. She feels understood. She feels seen. The instant attraction trick is not about impressing her. It is about making her feel emotionally visible. When a woman senses that you understand parts of her she rarely shows the world, a powerful connection begins to form. What feels like instant attraction is often the sudden relief of finally being understood by someone who truly pays attention. There is a fascinating moment that many men experience after heartbreak. They stop chasing validation. They stop trying to convince people of their worth. And strangely, that is when they become most attractive. Picture a man who enters a room without needing attention, without tea, hurrying to impress anyone. He knows who he is. He respects himself. He is comfortable with silence. This kind of confidence creates curiosity because it is rare. Women often feel drawn to men who have built their self-worth from within, rather than borrowing it from other people's opinions. The instant attraction trick is not learning how to make her like you. It is becoming the kind of man who likes himself enough that he doesn't need constant reassurance from others. Many people misunderstand attraction and assume mystery means being distant or unavailable. Real mystery is something completely different. Think about the people who naturally fascinate us. They are not hiding themselves. They are simply busy building meaningful lives. They have passions, goals, stories, and experiences that continue to unfold. A woman becomes intrigued when she realizes there is more beneath the surface than she first imagined. Every conversation reveals another layer. Every interaction opens another door. The lesson is powerful attraction grows strongest when your life is not centered around winning someone's attention. The more purpose you have outside the relationship, the more valuable and interesting you become inside it. Many relationships begin with excitement, but struggle to survive because excitement alone cannot sustain love. The strongest attraction often develops when a woman feels emotionally secure with a man. Imagine two people facing life's challenges together. One reacts with fear, jealousy, and uncertainty. The other remains calm, steady, and emotionally grounded. Which one feels safer to love? Which one feels easier to trust? Over time, emotional stability becomes one of the most irresistible qualities a man can possess. The hidden truth is that lasting attraction is not created by unpredictability. It is created by consistency. A woman may notice your appearance in a moment, but she becomes deeply attached to the way you make her feel over months and years. Attraction endures when she knows your presence brings peace instead of confusion. Have you ever noticed that the women who become impossible to forget are rarely the ones who simply looked beautiful, but the ones who made you feel understood in a way nobody else ever had? The strange thing is that the same truth works in reverse. Most men spend years believing attraction is created by saying the right words, wearing the right clothes, or somehow becoming impressive enough to earn a woman's attention. But one day, usually after enough heartbreak, enough rejection, and enough disappointment, they discover something that changes everything. They realize that attraction does not begin when a woman admires you. It begins when she feels deeply seen by you. I remember a man who spent most of his life trying to prove his worth. Every relationship felt like a performance. Every date felt like an interview. He worked hard to be interesting, successful, funny, and confident because he believed, I'd say things would finally make someone stay. And for a while, they did. Women were attracted to him. Conversations flowed. Connections formed. Yet somehow, the relationships always faded. The excitement disappeared. The emotional distance grew. And eventually, the same painful ending arrived. One night, after another relationship had fallen apart, he sat alone asking himself a question he had never asked before. What if attraction is not about being seen? What if it is about seeing? That question changed his life. Months later, he met a woman who carried a smile that hid years of disappointment. Like many people over 35, she had experienced love, loss, a betrayal, and loneliness. She had learned how to protect herself. She knew how to appear strong. She knew how to laugh at the right moments and keep the deeper parts of herself hidden. Most people only saw the version she allowed them to see. But during one conversation, he noticed something different. He noticed the sadness behind her confidence. He noticed how her eyes softened whenever she talked about family. He noticed how quickly she changed the subject whenever the conversation moved toward her own dreams. Instead of trying to impress her, he became curious about her. Instead of talking about himself, he listened. Instead of waiting for his turn to speak, he paid attention. For the first time in his life, he was not focused on winning someone's affection. He was focused on understanding another human being. Something unexpected happened. The walls she had spent years building began to lower, not because he was more handsome than other men, not because he was wealthier or more charming, but because she felt understood. She felt seen. And there is something incredibly powerful about that feeling. People walk through life carrying invisible stories, stories of heartbreak, stories of rejection, stories of dreams that never came true. Most of the world sees their surface. Very few people see their soul. When a woman realizes that a man notices the emotions she cannot put into words, attraction starts to grow in places where appearances cannot reach. She begins to feel emotionally safe. She begins to feel emotionally connected. And emotional connection is often the foundation of lasting desire. The truth is that many people are starving for attention, but desperate for understanding. Attention can be given by anyone. Understanding is rare. Attention makes someone feel noticed for a moment. Understanding makes someone feel valued for a lifetime. That is why some relationships create deep attachment almost instantly, while others never move beyond the surface. One person is trying to impress. The other is trying to connect. One is performing. The other is present. As the months passed, woman revealed parts of herself she had hidden from everyone else, not because she planned to, not because she intended to fall in love, but because she felt safe enough to stop pretending. And perhaps that a woman's heart does not open because she meets a perfect man. It opens because she meets someone who allows her to be imperfect without fear. Someone who sees her strengths without ignoring her wounds. Someone who recognizes her beauty without making beauty the only thing that matters. Real attraction is not created by making someone chase you. It is created by making someone feel emotionally understood. That kind of connection survives difficult seasons. It survives aging. It survives setbacks. It survives the moments when life becomes complicated because it is built on something deeper than appearances. It is built on genuine understanding. And when a woman feels truly seen by a man who knows his own worth, who is comfortable in his own skin, and who is not seeking validation from her attention, a powerful bond begins to form. Because deep down, beneath all the games, all the fears, and all the defenses, every human heart is waiting for the same thing. Someone who looks beyond the mask and says, without words, I see who you really are. And that is the moment attraction stops being a spark and becomes something unforgettable. What if the very thing you have been chasing your entire life is the reason it keeps slipping away? Most men never ask themselves that question. They spend years trying to become more attractive, more successful, more desirable, believing that if they can just earn enough approval, collect enough compliments, or prove their worth often enough, they will finally feel secure. But something strange happens when a man builds his confidence on the opinions of others. No matter how much validation he receives, it is never enough. The attention feels good for a moment, then disappears. The praise feels exciting for a day, then fades. The relationship feels perfect at first, then anxiety quietly returns. Because confidence borrowed from others can never create lasting self-worth. I once knew a man who seemed to have everything. He was successful. he was respected. Women noticed him whenever he entered a room. From the outside, his life looked like a dream. Yet behind closed doors, he lived with a fear he never spoke about. Every relationship felt like a test. Every disagreement felt like rejection. Every moment of distance felt like a warning sign that he was about to lose someone he loved. The harder he tried to hold on, the more his relationship slipped away. He became the man who constantly needed reassurance. The man who searched for proof that he was enough. The man who measured his value through the attention he received. Then one day, his heart broke in a way he never expected. The woman he imagined spending his future with walked away. There was no dramatic betrayal, no explosive ending. She simply left. And for months afterward, he searched for answers. He replayed conversations in his mind. He questioned every decision. He wondered what he could have done differently. But eventually, after enough sleepless nights and enough painful reflection, he discovered something that changed him forever. The relationship had not exposed his weakness. It had revealed it. The insecurity had been there long before she arrived. Our departure simply forced him to face it. That realization was painful, but it was also liberating, for the first time. He stopped focusing on finding someone to complete him. Instead, he focused on rebuilding the relationship he had neglected for years, the relationship with himself. He spent time alone without feeling lonely. He learned to enjoy his own company. He pursued goals because they mattered to him, not because they impressed other people. He stopped measuring his worth by how many people wanted him and started measuring it by how much he respected himself. Slowly, something began to change. The desperation disappeared. The fear softened. The constant need for approval lost its grip on him. And the most surprising part was what happened next. Women started responding to him differently. Not because he became richer, not because he became more attractive, but because his energy changed. There is something deeply magnetic about a man who no longer needs external validation to feel valuable. He listens without trying to impress. He speaks without trying to convince. He walks away from disrespect without anger because he knows his worth is not determined by another person's opinion. He becomes calm where others become needy, grounded where others become desperate, present where others become performative. And that kind of confidence creates attraction because it communicates something powerful without saying a word. It tells the world that this man knows who he is. Women often feel this shift immediately, not because they are looking for perfection, not because they expect a man to have all the answers, but because emotional security feels safe. A man who values himself creates space for a healthier connection. He does not pressure a woman to heal his wounds. He does not demand constant reassurance. He does not make her responsible for his happiness. Instead, he shares his life with her rather than expecting her to become his life. That difference changes everything. Real attraction grows strongest when two complete people choose each other, not when two incomplete people try to rescue each other. And perhaps that is why heartbreak can become one of the greatest gifts a man ever receives. It forces him to confront the places where he has abandoned himself. It exposes the fears he has hidden beneath charm, success, and ambition. It teaches him that self-worth cannot be found in another person's affection. It must be built from within. Because when a man finally reaches the point where he genuinely values himself, something extraordinary happens. He stops chasing. He stops proving. He stops begging to be chosen. And ironically, that is often when people begin noticing him the most. Not because he is trying harder, but because he is no longer trying to earn what he already possesses. True confidence is not loud. It does not seek attention. It does not demand admiration. It simply exists. It is the quiet strength of knowing that your value remains intact whether someone stays or leaves, whether someone loves you or rejects you, whether the world applauds you or ignores you. And when a woman encounters a man who carries that kind of self-respect, she feels something rare. She feels the presence of someone who is not looking for permission to believe in himself. Because the most irresistible man in the room is rarely the one demanding attention. It is the one who already knows he is enough. Have you ever wondered why some people remain unforgettable long after they leave the room, while others are forgotten almost immediately? It is rarely because of their appearance. It is rarely because of their words. The truth is much deeper than that. The people who leave the strongest impression are often those who seem to be living a life that exists beyond the need for anyone's approval. There is something fascinating about a person who has a purpose that continues whether you are there or not. And nowhere is this more powerful than in attraction. Many men spend years believing that mystery is about being unavailable, playing games, or delaying messages, or pretending not to care. But real mystery is not created by manipulation. Real mystery is created by depth. It comes from having a life so rich with meaning, growth, and purpose that another person naturally becomes curious about who you really are. I remember a man who spent most of his adult life making relationships the center of his world. Whenever he fell in love, everything else faded into the background. His hobbies disappeared. His goals became secondary. His routines changed. His happiness rose and fell depending on the attention he received. At first, women appreciated his devotion. They felt special. They felt chosen. But over something unexpected happened. The very thing he believed would bring people closer began pushing them away. The more he centered his life around another person, the less of himself remained. Conversations became predictable. His world became smaller. His identity became tied to the relationship, and without realizing it, he lost the very qualities that had attracted people to him in the first place. Then came the heartbreak that changed everything. A relationship he thought would last forever suddenly ended. The silence that followed was unbearable. For months, he carried the weight of unanswered questions. He wondered why love had not been enough. He wondered why giving everything had still led to loss. But eventually, in the emptiness left behind, he discovered something important. For years, he had been building relationships while neglecting his own life. He had been investing in love while abandoning himself. So he made a decision. Instead of searching for someone new, he started rebuilding who he was. He traveled to places he had always wanted to see. He learned new skills. He reconnected with old passions. I challenged himself physically and mentally. He pursued goals that had nothing to do with attracting anyone. Slowly, his life began to expand again. What surprised him most was how different he felt. There was a new energy in him, a quiet confidence, a sense of purpose. And people noticed. Weapon especially seemed more intrigued than before, not because he was trying harder, not because he had become more charming, but because there was now something to discover. Every conversation revealed another layer. Every story hinted at experiences beyond the surface. Every interaction suggested that his life was moving forward with or without anyone else's approval. This is where true attraction begins to deepen. People are naturally drawn to depth. They are curious about individuals who continue growing. A man who is passionate about his life carries a different presence. He does not cling to every interaction because he has meaningful things waiting for him beyond it. He does not panic when someone pulls away because his identity is not dependent on being chosen. He does not lose himself in relationships because he has already found himself outside of them. And that creates a powerful emotional dynamic. A woman begins to sense that she is not stepping into an empty space. She is stepping into a life that already has direction. She becomes curious about the experiences that shaped him. She wonders about the dreams he is still chasing. She wants to know what drives him when nobody is watching. That curiosity creates attraction because human beings are captivated by possibility. You are drawn to people who feel like a story that is still unfolding. The greatest mistake many people make is believing attraction grows through constant availability. But attraction often grows through discovery. Not because someone is playing hard to get, but because I'd say there is always something meaningful left to uncover. Think about the relationships that stay exciting for years. They are not built on endless mystery in the traditional sense. They are built on continuous growth. Both people keep evolving. Both people continue learning. Both people remain connected to their individual purpose. And because of that, they never stop discovering each other. It is becoming so invested in your own growth that no one can fully understand you in a single conversation. It is living with enough passion that your story continues to expand. It is refusing to shrink your world for the sake of someone else's comfort. Ironically, the less you make attraction your primary mission, the more attractive you often become, because confidence is born from purpose. And emotional security comes from knowing that your life remains meaningful whether someone chooses to join it or not. The Us captivating men are not the ones desperately trying to be noticed. They are the ones deeply engaged with the life they are creating. Their presence feels different because they are moving towards something greater than attention. And when a woman encounters that kind of man, she does not just see someone attractive, she sees someone worth discovering. Because the most irresistible mystery is not a man who hides himself. It is a man whose life is so full of purpose that every chapter leaves her wanting to know what comes next. What if the quality that creates the deepest attraction is not excitement at all? What if the thing that makes a woman stay is completely different from the thing that first catches her attention? Most people spend their lives chasing sparks. They chase chemistry, they chase butterflies, they chase intensity. And for a little while, those feelings can be intoxicating. The late night conversations, the racing heartbeat when a message appears on the screen, the anticipation of seeing someone again. It feels magical, it feels powerful, it feels like love. But time has a way of revealing truths that excitement alone can never hide. Because eventually every relationship faces challenges. Every couple experiences uncertainty. Every person reveals imperfections. And when the excitement settles, something far more important begins to determine whether attraction grows stronger or slowly disappears. That something is emotional security. I remember a woman who once described two very different relationships. The first was filled with passion. Every day felt unpredictable. Every conversation carried emotional highs and lows. When things were good, they felt incredible. When things were bad, they felt devastating. She never knew where she stood. One day she felt adored. The next day she felt ignored. As she spent years trying to earn consistency from someone who could not provide it, she became anxious. She overanalyzed everything. She lost sleep wondering, what had changed? The relationship consumed her thoughts because uncertainty became a constant companion. Then years later, she met a different man. There were no dramatic games, no emotional roller coasters, no endless guessing. Instead, there was something she had rarely experienced before: stability. When he cared about her, she knew it. When he made a promise, he kept it. When difficulties appeared, he faced them rather than running away. At first, she almost mistook his steadiness for a lack of excitement because she had become accustomed to chaos masquerading as passion. But as time passed, she began to feel something she had never felt before: peace, and that peace changed everything. The truth is that many people confuse emotional instability with attraction because uncertainty creates intensity. It creates obsession. It keeps the mind searching for answers. But obsession is not the same as connection. Anxiety is not the same as love. Emotional security creates something far more powerful. It allows attraction to deepen rather than merely fluctuate. It allows trust to grow. It allows vulnerability to emerge. It creates the conditions necessary for real attachment. Think about what happens when a woman feels emotionally safe with a man. She stops wondering whether she is enough. She stops questioning where she stands. She stops protecting herself from every possible disappointment. Instead, she becomes free to invest emotionally. She becomes free to trust. She becomes free to reveal the parts of herself that she usually keeps hidden. And those moments of genuine openness are often where the deepest forms of attraction are born. The strongest men are not necessarily the loudest. They are not always the most charming. They are not always the most physically impressive. Often, they are the men who remain grounded when life becomes difficult. They are the men who can sit with discomfort without becoming overwhelmed by it. They are the men who know their worth well, enough that they do not need constant validation. Their confidence feels different because it is built on stability rather than performance. Their presence feels calming because they are not at war with themselves, and that inner strength becomes incredibly attractive over time. I once knew a man who had experienced devastating heartbreak. The woman he loved left unexpectedly, and for a long time he believed he would never recover. He blamed himself. He questioned his value. He wondered if he would ever trust again. But eventually, he realized that pain could either harden him or strengthen him. Instead of becoming bitter, he chose growth. He learned emotional discipline. He learned patience. He learned how to regulate his fears instead of allowing his fears to control him. Years later, when he entered a new relationship, something remarkable happened. He no longer reacted from insecurity. He no longer needed constant reassurance. He no longer panicked when challenges appeared. He had developed emotional security within himself, and because of that, the woman he loved felt secure with him. That is the hidden truth most people overlook. Emotional security is contagious. A person who feels safe within themselves often creates safety for others. A person who trusts themselves often becomes easier to trust. A person who remains calm during difficult moments becomes a source of stability in the lives of those they love. And over time, that stability becomes deeply attractive because life itself is unpredictable enough. We all face disappointments. We all face losses. We all encounter moments when the future feels uncertain. During those times, people naturally gravitate toward those who make them feel grounded rather than those who create more chaos. Attraction may begin with appearance. It may begin with chemistry. It may begin with curiosity. But lasting desire is often built on emotional safety. It is built on knowing that someone's actions match their words. It is built on consistency. It is built on trust earned over time. And perhaps that is why the relationships that survive for years are rarely sustained by excitement alone. They are sustained by the quiet confidence of two people who know they can depend on each other when life becomes difficult. Because in the end, the most irresistible feeling a person can experience is not the thrill of uncertainty. It is the rare and beautiful certainty that they have finally found someone whose presence feels like home.